Test 1 2. We are back at it again. We're gonna do this one more time. What we did last time went for about 2 hours. Did about 2 hours of just rules questions. Today we're gonna do about 1 hour. Really wanted to feel like I accomplished something before I go take a walk. So let me make sure the right group chats are hit up. All right, and this time I must flex on one of my group chats because I know the rules pretty well. Pretty important to me today. Now, I will say I've only had a half decaf coffee today, so I'm a little bit less hyped up than I was last time. Not that that really matters. You know, this camera needs to be a little lower. All right, we're stalling out because once we get started, it's like a train that has left the station. All right. Welcome to Rulesguru. You know, I'm going to start reading this every day. Rulesguru is a database of Magic the Gathering rules questions. Access to the settings in the top left corner in order to filter by questions, by difficulty, topic, format, legality, and more. We only really want commander questions. We can have every level. Beautiful. Few questions. Amanda controls Breakneck Rider, enchanted by Infinite Reflection. Amanda also controls the Solitary Hunter, which is a copy of the Breakneck Rider. So these immediately do not even have the backside listed. So we get to scrap all these fuckers. Thank you, thank you. All right, Breakneck Rider. What does the backside of this do? So Amanda controls the Breakneck Rider, which is enchanted by Infinite Reflection. When Infinite Reflection enters the battlefield, attached to a creature, each other non-token creature you control becomes a copy of that creature. Non-token creatures you control enter the battlefield as a copy of enchanted creature. So my non-token creatures I control are going to enter as a copy of my Breakneck Rider. Now, I hope that this question is up to date because this is the rules question that was just changed. Is that if a permanent could transform to the backside, Hoarding Boss, you fucking bet. This was actually a rules change. This is the rules change we're all talking about. So in this case, we're talking about a Solitary Hunter entering as a copy of Breakneck Rider. Those spells were cast last turn. At the beginning of their upkeep. So this is a copy of this. But this is a non-token copy. This is a non-token copy of this. So I think the Breakneck Rider has overwritten it. Be awesome if we immediately got the first one wrong. They both transform. Yes, Solitary Hunter's back face remains a copy of the front face. Hey, we got it. Anyways, that wasn't a rules change because that was a permanent transforming that had a backside. All right, Amir controls Striped Riverwinder in a Hieromancer's Cage. Then that exiled Nathali's Muzzle. Natalie? Yes, Quiet Purity targeting the cage. What happens as the muzzle returns to the battlefield? Prevent all damage that would be dealt by an enchanted creature. So Amir controls this. And a cage that exiled the muzzle. A cage that exiled the muzzle. This is a question about how an aura would return to the battlefield. Is this the edge case where an aura returning to the battlefield would choose? It enchants it. Auras entering the battlefield from a zone other than the stack must enchant a legal object. It doesn't target, exactly, so hexproof doesn't matter. It only targets when you cast the spell. And sorry, what did... Oh, this is the thing. Yeah, okay. Avery turns their Mirage Mirror into a copy of Old Man of the Sea and takes control of Nico's Straw Soldier. At the end of the turn, when Mirage stops being a copy of Old Man of the Sea, will Straw Soldiers return to Nico's control. Gain control of target creature with power less than or equal to blank's power as long as it remains tapped, and that creature's power remains less than or equal to Old Man of the Sea's power. So I think you lose control of it because you're going to lose your power toughness. Then the question is, does the power toughness go away without caring about it going away? I think you lose control of it because it loses power toughness. It has no power, so the game uses 0. Okay. If the game is looking for a value it doesn't have, it uses 0. Okay, that's 107. 107. Locking that number into my mind. 107. X equals 0 in every other zone is applicable to almost everything in this game. Aiden controls Everlasting Torment. Can cast Soulburn with X equals 2, targeting Nico's Goblin Assailant, spending 5 black mana. Alright, Soulburn's a cute one. Spend only black or red mana on X. It does X damage to target creature or player. You gain life equal to the damage dealt, but not more than the amount of black spent on X. Players can't gain life. Oh, it's the Wither that I'm dumb on. But in any case, players can't gain life. Is that not enough? But I guess that makes sense. It's in the form of that. So the damage dealt to it was 5, but the creature is dying to the -1/-1 counter. That's interesting. Okay. Avery casts Embolden, targeting Edgar Cadet and Fire Elemental. When they do have the choice, when do they have to choose how much damage each creature will be prevented? As the Embolden is cast, as it resolves, or as the damage is dealt. Instant. Prevent the next 4 damage that would be dealt this turn to any number of target creatures and or players. So the first thing you do is choose the number of targets. So in this case, we would have 2 targets. So first of all, we're going to choose 2 targets. And then on resolution, we choose how much to distribute that number. And then as damage is dealt, it is prevented. So when do you choose to each creature? That is part of the resolution. So as it is cast, anytime a spell divides or distributes an effect among multiple targets, that decision is made as cast. Oh, that's funny. Okay. So that means that applies to Fire Covenant, which is very relevant to CEDH. Fire Covenant with a perplexing Chimera was the question. But this is pretty clearly... Yes, and it's using the word divide and distribute in Flame Covenant too, right? Oh my fucking god. Does X damage divided as you choose. So you choose the distribution as you cast it. Good to know. Antoine controls 3 artifacts and casts Rusted Relic. Nicole controls Imposing Sovereign. Does Rusted Relic enter the battlefield tapped or untapped? The rule in question here is 614, which we're talking about how permanents can see ahead to what they would be. So, Antoine already controls them. Well, I think the Rusted Relic is going to know it's going to enter as a creature, and it's going to enter tapped. It enters tapped. Haha, did I get the rule right too, or what? 614? Oh, man. Okay. Tap to determine what replacement effects apply to the permanent as it enters the battlefield. The game looks at the permanent as it would exist on the battlefield. On the battlefield, it would be a creature, so Imposing Sovereign's effect will apply to it. All right. Amina controls 3 Nylea's disciples. When Nylea's disciple enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to your devotion to green. Nico controls authority of the consoles. Amina controls Genesis Wave, putting Nylea and Mykolov onto the battlefield. Mykolov, Devour 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token for each 1/1 counter on Mykolov. So, Nylea is going to look ahead. These are both replacement effects for 2 different things that happen simultaneously. Not a replacement effect, I'm sorry, for Nylea. That's a static ability. Does it enter tapped? Yes. It will enter tapped because while Nylea is trying to figure out what zone or how she's going to enter the battlefield as a creature or not as a creature, the disciple should be there while the Mykolith is also still on the field. It enters tapped, but the authority of the consoles does not trigger for it. Yes, because this is a triggered ability. So Nylea does go ahead as per 614. She knows that she's going to be a creature on the battlefield. And as she knows she's going to be a creature on the battlefield, the Mykolov also knows that it's going to have to devour. But however, at this step, it doesn't know. However, once it is on the battlefield, all these replacement effects have happened without passing priority. So then while Nylea actually makes it to the battlefield, she is not a creature. That's funny. All right. Show and tell in 3T City. Alvaro casts Show and Tell. As it revolves, Nadia wants to put 3Tree City onto the battlefield. Do they know what Alvaro is putting onto the battlefield while making the choice for 3Tree City replacement effect? Yes. It is a replacement effect, not a triggered ability. But then maybe there's something I don't know about Show and Tell, because I know Show and Tell is sequential, but I don't know in what order. Yes. Show and Tell puts them on the battlefield at the same time. Before they change zones, both players look at each card. How I thought it worked, but that was like an instinct answer, not me knowing it off the top of my head. Elena controls Mondrak. Flame Rush Rider and Amphin Cutthroat. They attack with the Flame Rush Rider and Amphin Cutthroat, targeting the Cutthroat with Flame Rush Rider's ability and creating 2 tokens. Do they both get exiled at the end of combat, or only one? When it attacks, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature and that's tapped and attacking. Exile the token at the end of combat. So the second one, I believe, does not get exiled, because if this phrase was built into the rest of it, it would. But because it's worded this way, I think it's specifically referring to that first token it made. However, we're just making twice as many. Oh. Good. Okay. That is a good one to be wrong on, because it felt wrong to me. So that was me misunderstanding a different one. So that means it is truly only replacing that one effect. That's an easy one. That's a big whip. Athena controls Wishcoin Crab, which is a 4-mana 2/5, and Lifeline. They cast Michaeloth. What is up with these Michaeloth? What is happening right now? Move something. All right. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard and a creature is in play, return that creature from my graveyard to play at end of turn. Controls Wishcoin, Crab, and Lifeline. They cast Michaeloth and choose to devour it. Does it trigger? So as it enters, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. The Devour's a replacement effect. That modifies how it enters. I don't think it does, but I'd be happy to be wrong on this one. It does. So it is simultaneous. Man, yesterday was easy in comparison to this. What the fuck am I doing today? All right, you know what I gotta do? I gotta focus up. That means the hat's going on backwards. I'm gonna lean forward uncomfortably now. Okay? Fan favorite, assist. Another player can pay up to 3 of the spell's mana. Antoine controls it, controlled by Nico's Lost in Thought. Enchanted creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be played. Its controller may exile 3 cards in their graveyard to ignore this. Let me reread the errata on Lost in Thought Rifle. You can take the exile 3 cards action at any time you have priority and without using the stack. Its controller may exile 3 cards from the graveyard for that player to ignore this effect until end of turn. And Nico activated it. I believe it's controller. Yeah, at first to its controller, so Nico could activate it. Damn. Antoine controls the fan favorite.